go. It just takes it as a life of its own. Okay. 7:01. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Town of Orangetown Town Board meeting of September 13th, 2022. Town clerk on a roll call.
Councilman Tom Divany. Here. Councilman Paul Valentine.
Here.
Councilman Jerry Vitari.
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Here.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Here. And we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Valentine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we're going to start with our first budget presentation, the Boulevard Fire District.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hank, how are you? Thank you. No worries.
Pete, how you doing? Good evening. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
good evening Supervisor Kenny and Town Council. I'm Mike Conklin from the Boulevard Volunteer Fire Company. The Boulevard Volunteer Fire Company is submitting a budget for the fire protection services of the Hamlet and Town of Boulevard for 2023-24 for the amount of $651,400. We chose to stay and exercise under the 2% cap. We've worked hard to keep our budget low for the taxpayers of Boulevard as we used our reserve to reduce this coming year's budget. We did start with updating our CBAs and replacement of the 1MP. We'll be moving forward again to updating SCBAs on one of our older trucks this year. Our truck committee did order a new truck to replace our 98 2001 pumper. It should come in during the 23-24 budget year. It is on our 25-year replacement schedule. The same cost of our pumper that we bought 25 years ago has now hit the $950,000 mark. This purchase will be coming from our truck reserve fund. We have completed replacement of the boiler in our building under our capital improvement fund. We had to dip into our reserves a little bit for our COVID-related supplies this year. No telling what we'll be needing in 2023. We worked with our insurance carrier for better pricing on our cancer protection program for our firefighters. And as along with the guideline, we are required to clean the turnout gear more often now at an additional cost outside of the area on a off-site cleaning. The Boulevard Volunteer Fire Company is dedicated to the best possible protection service for the Boulevard community by controlling the cost of our taxes to the community which we live and work. As always, Boulevard Volunteer Fire Company will continue to serve our community 24/7, 365. Respectfully submitted, Mike Conklin, Treasurer.
No, I just have a question. On the workers' comp, it looks like you started in the, there's nothing leading up to the, before
We
that.
are now including the workman's comp with us. In other words, we paid it last year and we're paying it again this year. Because there was some confusion with the budget lines in the past where the town was paying it. Now we
Okay,
included
so
it
that
in our
explains what
budget.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that explanation. Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can get one more in before our hearing. Rockland Paramedics?
Good evening. My name is Tim Egan. Good evening, Supervisor Kenny and the town board members. My name is Tim Egan. I'm the Executive Director for Rockland Paramedics. With me tonight is Mark Siegelman, who's our Chief Financial Officer for Rockland Paramedics. First, I'd like to begin by thanking you for the funding we received this year. We greatly appreciate it. As you can see with our projected funding request for 2023, we've been able to lower expenses in some areas, especially in salaries and benefits. But despite that, our overall budget request has increased by 9%. We're seeking this increase to get us to a break-even budget amount. Currently, we're using our reserve fund to fund the deficit in funding, but by the end of this year, our proportionate reserve fund for Orangetown will shrink to just 10.7% of the total funding request for next year. We rely on our reserve fund for capital equipment purchases like vehicles and cardiac monitor defibrillators, both of which were new replacement items this year in Orangetown. In addition, capital equipment such as computers and radios are uncompensated capital and not included in the budget, and we also use our reserve fund for that. We're doing our best to be respectful of taxpayer money, and with that in mind, our budget request is crafted to simply get us to a break-even amount. We've worked hard to cut expenses and are operating as efficiently as possible. We thank you for your continued support of our efforts and look forward to continuing to provide quality paramedic services to the Orangetown community. Thank you.
You guys get chargebacks from the insurance companies, right? When you take,
No, we do not, no.
so
100% funding from the town.
The ambulance corps is billed for transportation, and they get that money.
okay, but it's different with you guys.
That's correct. Our sole source of funding is from local government.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me squeeze one more in here. The South Orangetown Ambulance Corps? We have a hearing at 7:10 or something. Let's see if we can get through.
Good evening, Supervisor Kenny, town board members. My name is Pete Romisher. I'm the treasurer and one of the administrative and operational officers of the South Orangetown Ambulance Corps. I grew up in Tapan, and I'm a current resident of Blauvelt, joined here tonight by one of my fellow board members, Steve Harris of Orangeburg. 2022 so far calls for service 1,852, which is going to work out to about 2,500 calls for service for the South Orangetown Ambulance Corps. Our strongest asset is our volunteers. We have about 100 right now with about 15 per diem employees. The assets that we have, 3 first-line ambulances, a 2019 chassis with a 2014 module, 2015 chassis with a 2015 module, and a 2015 chassis vehicle with a 2007 module. We have 2 first response vehicles, a 2017 Tahoe and a 2012 Suburban. We decommissioned one of our ambulances, the International. People know it as the Beast. It's a repurposed ambulance now that we use for equipment carrying purposes. We have 1 trailer now to carry rehab, MCI, tent, generator, and HVAC equipment, and we now have a county MCI trailer on our property to better respond to incidents in Orangetown. We operate out of Tapan, out of a 5,000 square foot headquarters. We purchased the house next door to us at 58 Independence a few years ago. It happened right around the time of COVID, so our building expansion plans have been stalled, but we are moving forward with those plans. We have a crew tonight at the Blauvelt Firehouse for about 40 Cub Scouts doing a walkthrough of the Sheriff's Department, Town Police Departments, ambulances, and fire departments. We had crews for all 4 days at the Italian Fest. We're having crews this weekend at the Gaelic Fields for the NYPD FDNY game. Our capital plans, building expansion, remounting our 2 2015 ambulances. Our calls for service has warranted adding a 4th first-line ambulance to our fleet and probably replacing our 2012 Suburban. Our current year budget request to the town of Orangetown remains an unchanged $400,000. Our operating budget has increased to $1.1 million, and we'll be taking $700,000 this year from our revenue recovery or the insurance collections, as Councilman Valentine just added. Over the last few years, we've had to take, we've kept the $400,000 the same to the town, but we've been taking more and more out of our reserve, out of our billing account, which was being used to fund equipment purchases. And I've had conversations with Mr. Bensick before, and I did warn the finance director, not warn, maybe warn's the right word, but I put him on alert that we have given $100,000 over to the town each year for many, many years now, that we call it an offset to the ALS contract. And I went over the numbers with the finance director, and our collections they were down about $200,000 for a few years, which brought that number that we were using to fund ourselves much, much closer to becoming flat. So I gave a heads up to the finance director that it's going to be up to our board of directors how much money, if any at all, we will be able to turn over this year of that $100,000 for what we call the ALS offset. So it's not in stone. We don't know yet, but I want, everyone should be made aware of it. We appreciate the support that we get from the town board. I imagine we would hear if you were receiving complaints on us, but we work very closely with your police department, with the fire departments. We sit on your Orangetown OEM committees. We attend the Orangetown Fire Chiefs meetings. We think that we're involved in doing the right thing for the community, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. That would end my presentation.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you.
So should we go to a public hearing, you think, or? Yep. Yeah, it was 7:10. Okay, so we're going to just take a brief interruption on the budget presentations because we do have a public hearing scheduled for 7:10, so we don't want to go too far beyond that. So that is number 3. Can I get a motion to continue the public hearing from August 23rd? Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
Brian Donahue, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We do have, what's the public hearing first, or should I have the gentleman? Why don't we make, right, we have the consultant here?
Yeah.
Come on up. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. I'm David Gilmore from the Burge Group, and I'm a planner who's worked on the proposed zoning amendment to incorporate the zoning for South Nyack, Hamlet, that became part of the town in April of 2022. We're calling that the hybrid zoning. Otherwise, the zoning for the village would remain in effect for 2 years, and essentially you would have 2 different zoning codes to administer. So we considered essentially blending of the 2 laws so that we can both have many of the performance standards and criteria, including the same zoning footprints as generally were applicable in the village prior to its dissolution, but also blending with the town and relying in essence on functionally equivalent standards within the town. So many of the base zones, as I said, the base zones are retained from South Nyack as it existed. The zones that were altered slightly, I'll describe to you. So we're adding new use and bulk tables. We're essentially creating regulations for each sub-zone within South Nyack, and we're maintaining a coverage standard, and by that I mean an impervious coverage standard that South Nyack had. It seemed, I believe, that the county was suggesting a similar standard be considered for the whole town. It would be our recommendation at LaBerge Group, we're planners and engineers, that you have a contained process where we were focusing on the blending and focusing on South Nyack. Hopefully you're continuously monitoring the performance of your zoning, considering ways to adjust and tailor your zoning so that it acts as you would like. And so maybe something like test out how the coverage standard works in the Hamlet, and then consider similar or related standards for the whole town as part of your comprehensive planning and rezoning effort that's underway for the whole town. So we did retain, the whole village of South Nyack was previously a critical environmental area according to State Environmental Quality Review Act. Seems like a highly unique way to regulate potential impacts associated with land use. However, we did add and retain the South Nyack mountainous area, which is similar to your, your mountainous area, critical environmental area that already existed for Upper Grandview. We did propose not retaining a runoff area, critical environmental area in the core of the village, former village. Essentially, we thought that it's our recommendation that you can regulate stormwater in so many ways, including according to state model laws and the U.S. Clean Water Act prescriptions. And I believe that your comprehensive plan even proposes regulating stormwater emissions on future site development, not necessarily, though, residential properties, which you don't regulate for stormwater emissions now, I believe. Unless it's like a subdivision, I don't believe you're regulating individual single-family homes, say, if they were altered. So we've provided select definitions that we retained from the village in the hamlet. Hopefully that's aiding performance of your code. We carried over the supplemental regulations, really worked with a committee over a number of months to consider the comments that have been received and really understand the desired performance of the code. And as I said, figure out where you already had codes that we could blend with. For example, it seemed like the cellular laws in the two communities were nearly identical in many standards, and I think that there were others, such as the corner lot standard. Another example, fences in the village, former village, regulating, I think, at 5 feet or 5.5 feet. In the town, you're regulating at 4 feet in the front yard. We thought that you can probably monitor how that's doing, and hopefully that's an example where we thought you had generally equivalent sort of standards in the town. So we're proposing amending the zoning map. You're showing the village up there, the former village up there by the New York State Thruway, and essentially, as I said, retaining the existing base zoning districts now as subzones within the hamlet, and we did propose some amendments to the critical environmental area in the core of the village for drainage, supposing that you have other ways that you can regulate drainage. So at this point, based on the work that we've done, consideration of the comments we received from residents, from entities such as Rockland County Planning, we have proposed a few overrides and for your consideration. So it's our suggestion that you consider closing the hearing. We think we've responded to input received. You need to advance seeker, and you could consider adoption. Thank you for your time, and I welcome your comments and questions.
Can I just, David, I'm reluctant to ask this. Can you go backwards on that?
I can go back.
To the map, just that one. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but the critical environmental area now will be from, I guess, west, is that, of the thruway?
Essentially west of the thruway is that 9W to the western border of the former village, now the hamlet, is the mountainous, sorry, haven't thought about this terminology since I had COVID in August and couldn't come to present. Haven't thought about the terminology in a while. And then we slightly abbreviated the Hudson River critical environmental area.
Right, and
it seems like, again, you had critical environmental area over the whole town. If you're having development like sheds, you're having development like additions to residential housing, that could be faced with seeker and having to go to the planning board in the town. It seems like there could be other tools like historic preservation planning that can aid this, stormwater management standards that can aid regulation of land use performance like that, probably better than a critical environmental area in our estimation.
And then the second critical environmental area is from the river, again, west to, correct.
Hatched orange shaded area, you can see it overlays, thank you, Jane, SMR12 and HRA, the high density residential area, right down there by the thruway.
Questions? Open up to the public.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you
we'll
for your
open up.
time.
We have one person signed up, Roger Seiler.
Good evening, Supervisor Kenny and members of the board. I'm Roger Seiler, of 5 Baraka Avenue in South Nyack, just so you know where I'm from. In merging South Nyack zoning with that of Orangetown, as said before, it is essential that some in South Nyack land use board members be consulted by Orangetown's Zoning Review Committee. This is due to our long experience with the South Nyack zoning law and ability to explain the reasons behind it in relation to South Nyack's special physical conditions. No one from the committee has consulted with the key people who have been trying to communicate areas of concern. I did have a brief meeting with 2 of the members, but it was not comprehensive in any way. Several times, the town's consultant who wrote recommendations for revisions mentioned that he didn't see the reason behind this or that part of the South Nyack zoning law, and therefore it should be dropped from the proposed revised law. However, those of us who worked with this law for decades, and after some of us having been intimately involved in the writing of it, we are able to explain the important reasons behind all of these sections of law. This should be done before any parts of the South Nyack law are excised. Merely having a former South Nyack building inspector on the committee who is not a resident of South Nyack does not provide adequate representation for South Nyack. He didn't write any part of the zoning law and didn't participate in the public hearings that resulted in major changes to the law. Others among us who were directly involved in these hearings and in the resulting writing of code. We could make substantial contributions to the Orangetown Committee's understanding of the South Nyack zoning law and greatly assist in effectively merging the South Nyack zoning law with Orangetown's due to our ability to explain the reasons for the sections of code that mystified the LaBerge consultant, who incidentally I never met and only seen for the first time tonight. The best way to do this is with competent, experienced South Nyack input. That has not yet been done in a comprehensive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on this particular topic? Nope. Okay. Want to close it? Anybody have questions or want to talk to? No? Okay, I got a motion to close the public hearing. Did you just say motion to close? Jerry Batari made a motion. Tom Devaney, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
The resolution does contain the secret language and the override, so if there is a vote, I would just ask that it be by a roll call if somebody makes a motion.
Okay, I just want to quickly just respond to Roger on some of it. Roger, I do know that we talked about having some kind of consultant or board or whatever to help our planning board. I thought that was more, at least how I understood it, when it's an ongoing process. So we would form some kind of small committee that would help our planning board as these things now start to go to, are they going before, or they're going before board now, but they're applying? Yeah. But under the South Nyack Code. Right, right. So, okay, so anyway, yeah, and I'm, again, I was very involved in the whole, as was the town attorney, in the dissolution process, and we certainly are not trying to not listen to you guys, but I think the plan was, once this was done, that we would form some kind of committee, then you would work with the planning board. At least that's how I understood it. But the only thing I will add, in some of that's come up, the critical environmental area, I said this all along, I think by putting the whole village in the critical environmental area, you actually take away from the importance of being in a critical environmental area. Like I said, and I have one of my best friends lives down there, and no offense to her, but her house is no more critically environmentally sensitive than my house in Pearl River. I mean, for some reason, that just, I don't know, it doesn't seem to meet the standard of being in a critical environment area. So I totally agree with the changes that were made there. I don't really have any other comments, so does anybody else have any questions or comments? No? You ready to vote? Okay, so on that note, number 5, do we need to read any particular overrides or anything, or
No, it's contained in there, I mean.
it's in there? Okay.
And
So-
it references David Gilmore's responses there to the
Okay.
county planning's comments.
Good. Okay, so on that note, can I get a motion for consideration of the adoption of the local law amending Chapter 43 of the Orangetown Code and repealing Chapter 330 of the former Village of South Nyack and relating to the Hamlet, to the new Hamlet of South Nyack? So we need to get it on a roll call? Get a motion, and then we'll do a Jerry move, second? Tom Devaney, on a roll call? Roll call? I don't know, he just said yeah, didn't you say? Yeah.
Councilman Tom Tiffany? Yes. Councilman Paul Valentine?
Yes.
Councilman Jerry Vitari?
Yes.
Councilman Brian Donahue?
Yes.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny?
Yes. Okay, thank you. On that note, we're going to jump back into our budget presentations. Do we have the Nyack Ambulance Corps? No. So I guess,
Good evening Supervisor, Town Council. I know you've had a chance to already review our documents that we submitted to Jeff a few weeks ago. So I'll just give you a little bit additional information. Our capital funds currently state at our building renovation, new building fund is $347,548. Our new rig fund is $51,512. We just took purchase of a new rig took delivery about 2 months ago. And our equipment fund is currently at $113,548. One of the things we do is we donate back directly to our district 80.8% of the money we recover in third-party billing, last year being $241,306 in Orangetown. And of that, we directly give back to the district $195,000 for the 2023 budget. So when you actually look at the cost of Nyack Ambulance to provide BLS service to the Village of Nyack, the new Hamlet of South Nyack, and unincorporated Grandview, it's $237,100. I don't think I need to say anything other than that. That's what our cost is. You have to add in, for our total budget, RPS's fees of $264,503, which brings our budget request up to the $501,000. But it's really noteworthy that our request is less than $250,000 to provide service to those folks. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
For the, I know the total budget was 501, but the portion to Orangetown, 432,100, is that correct?
Correct. No, that's not correct. It's 501,603.
very large budget increase.
Yes. which I successfully fought for years, once the Palisades Mall was dumped in our backyard and increased our call volume tremendously, and it just seemed fair to go from 60/40 to 50/50. So the previous Supervisor Gromack wasn't particularly happy about it, but Andy Stewart's guidance, we were able to get that done.
We'll talk.
Okay, good.
The second page or whatever.
Okay, yeah, what are any questions, Jeff? Just let me know, and I'll make sure I can clarify it, sure. Any questions from you folks?
No?
Can I just take a minute and ask you for something else? I would strongly request, urge you to consider turning over some of the ARPA funds that all the communities in Rockland County received as part of that 2021 law. I think Rockland received over $63 million in total. Clarkstown received $8 million, and they have turned over roughly $300,000 to local ambulance corps. A couple of ambulance corps got $85,000, $90,000. Congress Valley Cottage got 50, Nyack got 30, and they seem to be based, it sounded very arbitrary and capricious, but it was based on what our total budgets are. So unfortunately, by running a very lean ship and being the least expensive, we got the least amount of money. But I would just implore you to really consider turning over some of those funds to really the first responders who were the spearhead of the COVID response. And actually subsection 2501 and 2502 of that law specify the volunteer and emergency services as certainly warranted and justified, receivers of those funds. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So, thank you.
Can I get the Orangeburg Library, please?
Good evening, Supervisor, Council folks. My name is Grant Zacharias. I'm proud to be the president of the Orangeburg Library since the beginning of this year. I'm here with the director of the library, Michelle Galli-Lorum. We had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Bensick approximately 1 month ago to advise him that we are asking for a 0% increase to the budget for the year 2023. Thank you.
You need to talk to some of the other people out there. Okay. The Tapan Library?
Good evening, everybody. Vicki Caramonte, president of the Tapan Library Board of Directors. It's good to see you all. Tapan Library was pleased to submit our proposal for our proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 with a 0% increase over the 2022 levy. As Orangetown and the world continue to grapple with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Tapan Library remains a steadfast resource for the community. Thoughtful and strategic planning for 2022 allowed the Tapan Library to invest in necessary technology, infrastructure, and professional staff and development while continuing to meet social distancing and other health and safety requirements. Unfortunately, the skyrocketing costs of fuel and scores of other commodities earlier this year far outpaced the 2% 2022 budget increase approved by the Orangetown Town Board. That said, our patrons have convenient access to diverse materials, services, and programs, both virtually and in person. The vast array of programming includes baby, toddler, and preschool story time, writers group, Tai Chi and yoga, technology help, book clubs, and our ever-popular summer reading program, including program collaborations with the other Mighty Five libraries in the South Orangetown area. In 2022, patrons have explored Roosevelt Island in person and enjoyed virtual tours of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Whitney, the Memorials of New York City, and our very own Hamlet of Spark Hill. While the physical collection usage dropped during the height of the pandemic, we are delighted to see a bounce in collection usage and patrons coming back to enjoy the facility again. In 2021, our overall collection use increased by 22%, and our in-house patron visits increased by 39%. With the ability to offer simultaneous virtual programming, we have increased our attendance to those programs by 33%, and our website visits are up 7%. We anticipate continued growth in line with national trends in library usage. The Tappan Library continued our aggressive strategy to pay down our $750,000 mortgage, and in 2021 satisfied the entire obligation, paying off the entire 20-year mortgage in 7 years. Going forward, we will continue to offer materials and programming our patrons' desire while meeting our obligations to taxpayers. We continue to explore technologies that will enhance the patron experience. We invite the community into our beautiful building, and we continue to collaborate with community partners to offer exciting opportunities for our patrons.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, I do actually have a question. I know there was some, was there some hearing or something about getting an increase from the school district or something?
The libraries are going to request that the school districts put on the ballot, that they put on the ballot a request for an increase, yes.
And is that, it's going to be on the ballot in November?
It was on the ballot in May.
Oh, okay, and it went through?
Passed. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's on the library budget, okay. Palisades Library.
I knew I was going to do that.
Hello. Good evening, Supervisor Kenny and members of the town board. My name is Marjorie Galen, and I'm a 30-year resident of Palisades and president of the Palisades Library Board of Trustees. This is our director, Maria Gagliardi. Thanks to the hard work of our library staff, community engagement in our library continues to rise. As the pandemic recedes, our overall book circulation as of mid-2022 is at 102% of our 2019 numbers. Digital book circulation is 127%, and event attendance is at 192%. A trend we are noticing is a marked increase in interest from children and teens, and circulation of those books is at 133% of our 2019 circulation. As inflation rises, we are finding it more difficult to keep up with increasing costs. Our IT expenses have risen substantially. We're finding salary expectations in the marketplace are making recruiting new hires more challenging. And as interest in ebooks is rising, publishers are dramatically raising the cost of these books to libraries. Our director is diligent in applying for grants. We have been spending down our reserves, and our board and staff puts a lot of time and energy into community fundraising. It's important to note that our balance sheet may be misleading, since a large percentage of our cash balance is the result of 10 years of community fundraising efforts. We are planning for a much-needed expansion of our children and teen spaces, a room to house our growing collection of historic materials, and finally an ADA-compliant bathroom, which we do not have. We hope you will consider our request for a 4% increase for 2023. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Blowout Library.
Town Supervisor Kenny and members of the Town Council, my name is Michael Andrea, and I'm the president of the Blofeld Free Library Board of Trustees. With me is our library director, Laura Grunberg. We are here this evening to respectfully request the town's funding for fiscal year 2023. 2022 saw a gradual reduction of COVID restrictions and a more typical work environment. This did not mean that the challenges of the last 2 years completely disappeared. The library still had customers that were hesitant to visit the library but still required our services. Thus, the library's dedicated staff continued to provide one-off type services whenever possible. The staff still made home deliveries and, if needed, arranged for contactless transactions to ensure that residents in isolation were able to obtain books and media. For the full year 2022, the library expects to spend $882,000, which is approximately $70,000 below what the library had planned to spend. The main reason for this is a later than expected start date for the long-awaited renovation of our community room. 2022 funding from external and internal sources should be in the amount of $910,000, which includes $714,000 from the town of Orangetown, $173,000 expected from the South Orangetown School District, and miscellaneous grants and fines of $2,000 and $21,000 from our reserves allocated to the community room renovation. The result of the aforementioned 2022 spending and funding will be a projected full-year surplus of $28,000, which can be attributed to the increase provided to the library by the South Orangetown School District. These additional funds will also help offset the increased expense that the current inflationary environment is causing in 2022 and quite likely in 2023. For 2023, the library is planning on a normal year. Our projected spending plan is approximately $974,000. That's $895,000 for general operating expenses and $80,000 for the planned capital improvements. That is our community room upgrades, which will be funded via our reserves and a construction grant from the state of New York. We anticipate that we will run a deficit in 2022 of approximately $7,000. In 2023, which we will work to contain or reduce as 2023 progresses. Thus, our Board of Trustees is respectfully requesting that its 2023 town funding remain at the 2022 funding level of $714,400. As it has for the last 13-plus years, the Boulevard Free Library will continue to monitor its general operating expenses closely. However, it should be noted that we have taken action to reduce our spending to the point where any material cuts would impact the basic services that the library provides. As for our reserves, we are projecting a year-end 2022 balance of $1.16 million. The Boulevard Free Library will continue to work with the town regarding its funding needs and reserve balance. The library continues to go above and beyond in providing valuable services to the Hamlet and all South Orangetown residents. During these difficult times, our director, library staff, and Friends Group will continue to work together to provide the services and programs that align with the interests of our community so that we remain relevant and vital. Thank you for your time and consideration. Any questions?
I have a question. The $29,000 that you got from the school district, the extra, I guess, that they was owed on, was that the same amount to all of the libraries, or was it based upon your membership or your, or you
No,
don't?
it wasn't the same.
It's all the same? Everybody got the same? Oh, no.
No, based on population.
Based on population.
Or something like that?
Right.
Tertiaries, tax tertiary.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our budget presentations for tonight. Okay, we have one discussion item. This is regarding the Orangetown Soccer Complex, the OMSC, which is formerly known as OMM to some people. And an issue, we've had an ongoing issue with the non-payment of some of the non-resident fees that has been an ongoing issue for 2 years. So I just wanted to have the town attorney brief the board a little bit so that we're all on the same page where we're at with this particular matter.
Right, without getting into too much detail, right now we're operating with OMSC under what's called the second amended agreement from, I believe it was 2016. In 2020 and 21, there were some discussions about amending that. When that came up, there was also some discussion with respect to field replacement, the town's obligations with respect to field replacement, coupled with OMSC's obligations to pay the town for non-resident fees that they collected. So there was a field replacement agreement, as the board's aware, from last year, and that was kind of to hold things in place until we got to a third amended use agreement. If you ask me, I don't think the parties are that far apart in a third amended use agreement, or I felt that way up until a couple of hours ago, but it's really up to the board how it wishes to proceed. You have all the correspondence, and at this point, I don't, based upon the last email received from them, I don't see necessarily an agreement coming, but I could be wrong about that. And again, I do think it's closer, than.
What happened a couple hours ago?
That was a nasty email.
So I'll leave it at that. You've seen it. So
I'm just gonna kind of go back. When I started in office in 2020, they were at that point owed 2 years' worth of money that they had collected from non-residents that was supposed to come to the town of Orangetown. They, have been trying to renegotiate, but we hadn't really quite reached an agreement, at which point, I said, look, we're going to have to take some kind of action. They then paid all the money, which again, they collected above and beyond from non-residents to be paid to the town of Orangetown. So to be withholding it is troublesome to me. But they paid it 2 years ago. Now we had COVID, it's been a little bit of disarray, we've tried to negotiate them, but here we are now, it's 2 years again, we're going on 3 years, where they are collecting money from people to be paid to the town of Orangetown and are not giving it to us. Now, it's complicated, we agreed to replace a field, we all agree on that, but they're withholding the documents. We don't know how much money it is, we don't know how many residents there are. They collected this money for this purpose, and they are holding it. So, at some point, we have an obligation to the residents of Orangetown to do something. So, you've worked hard, Dennis Troy has worked hard, Brian Donahue worked hard. I mean, you've all worked hard. We're not getting anywhere, and so at some point, we as the keepers of the taxpayer monies have to do something. So I wanted it as a discussion item so that it's out there, that it's not, again, we can only try so hard. I feel like we're beating our head against the wall and we're not getting anywhere. So where we go from here, this board will have to discuss, but something has to happen. So that's why it's on there as a discussion item. So if anyone has questions of the town attorney or Dennis Troy or me, I'm happy to answer them. It's very rare that they're at a loss for words, I'm telling you, but anyway. Okay.
We've been discussing this for a very long time. This isn't the first time this come up. It's almost every meeting in executive session because it's talking about a contract with basically an outside vendor, and they are collecting money, which was supposed to help offset the cost of the infrastructure that was paid for by the residents of Orangetown, by the non-residents who are using our field. So, above and beyond anything, there should be accountability for that. And then we can discuss, what it's used for, but it should be going into the general fund. And, they have to sit down and tell us what's going on.
Right, and again, there have been discussions, and again, Teresa alluded to the field replacement obligation of the town, and that's certainly been part of the discussion, but, again, I know that there are, I think, scheduled further discussions, and I'd certainly welcome that, but, it's, again, Supervisor asked that this be on, so that was kind of, it would move forward one way or the other.
I mean, at some point, we have to pull the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been literally going on for over 2 years. I don't even know. It's been going on.
Well, yeah, the field replacement agreement was from August of '21, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's been a year and a half now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the workshop of the agenda items. We can jump to number 6. So this is the Gatto Lane matter that we closed the public hearing the last time. This is basically the issuance of a negative declaration with respect to the zone change. If anybody has any questions, jump in now or forever hold your peace. Number 7 would be approving of the zone change. Rob, I do have a question. On page 8, we do have a blank on the recreation contribution.
Right, and I spoke with the applicant's counsel earlier today. Typically, or oftentimes, an applicant will offer a payment to recognize, the recreation fees that are due, or to account for recreation that might not be able to put on site. I know that this board went a little further than usual in kind of getting some more recreation at this particular site, but as part of the site plan review, the planning board would ask for a fee in lieu of recreational land. There's not land being offered for recreation, although there is some, I'll call passive recreation, in addition to a pickleball court, which is not as passive, but so.
You could probably charge for those courts, and they're going to make money.
I guess.
Okay.
In the past, Other projects I mentioned to them have been around $1,500, up to $2,000 per unit. When the planning board evaluates this, they'll be aware of whatever the board sets here. And again, we'd ask the applicant, if they want to weigh in on it, but, whatever formula the planning board would ordinarily use, as long as this amount is more than that, that's what it would, that's the amount that they would put in. In other words, if the planning board comes up and says, well, the amount that you received is less than the formula we ordinarily do, then it would be more, but again, it's usually kind of a, I don't want to say negotiated thing, but it is something
Wait,
that...
so the planning board could ask for more money?
No.
Oh.
There's usually a formula that the planning board looks at, depending on the number of units, the amount, the size of the project, and makes a determination as to a fee in lieu of recreational land. What I'm saying is, depending upon the fee that the board, or the contribution that the applicant and the board agree to tonight, that would be kind of credited against that. So provided that the amount tonight is more than whatever the planning board formula would be, that's what the amount will be. So again, as I said to the applicant, I would ask them even to weigh in on other projects, and it has varied between around $1,500 and $2,000 per unit.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did like the club and those guys pay it?
Yes.
And
yeah.
what they pay, do we know?
I don't know the number. I'm saying between $1,500 and $2,000 per unit.
I would do 2,000 per unit.
I hear consensus for 2,000 per unit. On this end of the table. I don't know about that end of the table. Yeah.
And again, if you want to
Brian,
hear
go
from
ahead.
the applicant on that, we
Yeah,
can
go
certainly hear
ahead.
from them.
Go
And
ahead.
just before the applicant goes, there are several.
This is just workshop.
Correct, but that's
Yeah.
fine. They can
Yeah,
they can do it at the workshop. The public hearing is closed. The findings that were in there are pursuant to the statute that the board has to make, and there were. County planning did recommend disapproval of this zone change, although, and as the board's aware, this is a zone change from R40 to R15, and then from R15 to PAC. So the county planning did, in a way, recommend, say, well, R15 would be okay if you limited the number of units because there is some R15 in the vicinity, but there are some overrides. So again, if there's a vote on this to approve, I would ask for a...
Wait, so they were okay with the R15, but then they said, we don't think you should do the overlay?
Well, no, they said if you did R15, limit it to 15 houses, which, that was a recommendation. They did acknowledge that there is R15, obviously to the, I guess it's the east of this property? Yeah, there's R15 to the east of the property, so.
Yeah, isn't the whole Gatto Lane and Pearl Rivers R15?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, there's some of the Chestnut Ridge is R35, and I
Yeah,
think
well,
there is
that's
some,
not-
I think there is some R40 that also touches on it.
Yeah, that strange, literally Wyeth piece that's around there. Yeah, wacky. It's all wacky up there.
touches on it.
Okay, so real quick, you have some
Do you want me
comments?
to weigh in?
Sure.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Brian Quinn. I'm with the firm of Blakely, Platt, and Schmidt. Our offices are in 1 Blue Hill Plaza, Pearl River, New York. Thank you for the opportunity to weigh in on this. And as far as, I guess I would just make some initial comments responding to the issues raised by county planning. We've been before you a couple of times, and the plan has changed substantially since the beginning. We've added additional recreational facilities, also reduced the number of units. So we've kind of thinned the project down a little bit as far as the developer goes. But we would certainly be willing to make a contribution to the recreational fees to the town. I'd suggest the 1,500 might be a good number, just because we did reduce the number of units, which kind of tightened the budget a little bit on this. But the applicant is willing to make a contribution. And I guess at this point, the town board would make a recommendation to the planning board, Rob, or?
This will be set as the contribution.
Okay.
Stuck at 17. I'll do 63. It's at 1750? You guys have it, 72? Okay.
All right.
Do you guys have any strong opinions on the recreational? These two are sticking it to, at 2,000. Okay, okay, thank you. We'll figure it out.
Thank you.
We'll figure it out as we get there.
You going to make a decision tonight, or?
Yeah, we're just gonna,
Thank you.
just gonna make, you know,
Let's go to 8.
okay. Number 8 is basically an amendment to one of the cell tower agreements, and they're giving us extra $300 a month for basically doing something at the tower. We're back and forth with them on that. Number 9 is donating the funds to the Provo Chamber of Commerce for the new welcome sign in Central Avenue that's coming out of the Provo Parking District Fund. Number 10 is authorizing a request for proposals for a parking study in the Hamlet of South Nyack. So I think you probably have heard, or if you have not, the parking situation in South Nyack is a mess. From not enough to no parking overnight to whatever. So, you know, in looking at it, it's almost like each street has its own, you know, some are too narrow, some you could park on it. So we're going to try to get a professional to help us with that. So we're going to put out an RFP, see what they come back with. But something's got to be done with the parking down there, because the system that they had in the village was they called in every night to say to the police department, we're going to be there overnight. And, you know, that's just not manageable now in the town of Orangetown. So our police department's been exercising discretion, but at some point we have to figure out what we're doing down there. So that's what that is. Number 11, back to South Nyack. We're very busy with them tonight. This is the DPW building. The former village had gone to contract with a trucking company. It required a zone change. I think both parties have now mutually agreed it's not going to work, and this is basically authorizing the town attorney to cancel it and return the deposit money.
All right. How much we charging per spot? 400, 300?
Oh, number 2, you jumped to 12. Okay, number 12, another South Nyack thing. So the parking lot at the DPW building has been being used. The village used to permit it out or lease it out. So we have to kind of do something to make it official. Now, the former village was charging them $150 a year. We charge $300 in Pearl River a year, which I still think is a bargain. So I think I'm proposing anyway, it should be consistent. I've said all along it should be consistent. So it's blank, but I'm proposing $300 a year for someone who wants to get parking there.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, look, I said all along, we're going to treat them all the same. It's like having children. You treat them all the same. Okay, number 13 is just accepting the draft comprehensive plan. We had our final meeting today. So you'll all be getting a copy of the plan, and we're going to be we're sending it out to the Rockland County Planning and our planning board, and we are setting a public hearing date for October 25th, where this board will then have the public come in and weigh in on the draft of the plan. Number 14, tax cert settlement, sewer registrations. The number 16th is the Nyack School District. They had originally come to us. They only wanted 3/4 of a school resource officer. Then they came back and said they wanted to do one full-time, talk to the chief, and we reached an agreement, and so that basically they're going to get the same full-time that our other schools have. Number 17th, we got a donation from Amazon of some PPE, and I guess it's just a formality. We have to accept it. Building department is getting 4 vehicles. From what I hear, they have Fred Flintstone cars right now where they have to put their feet underneath it and drive them. So they needed some new vehicles between fire and building. So that's approval of that. Number 19 is accept the retirement resignation of Anthony Bevilacqua. I thought we did that last week, but anyway. And then we're going to combine the lend assistance. We have the annual Halloween parade for the Orangeburg Fire Department on October 31st, the 2022 Orangeburg Fire Department holiday parade on December 10th. 2020 Pearl River Day is October 15th. The Color Run, 2022 Color Run in Pearl River Middle School, September 17th. The Noble 9th Traubenfest, October 2nd. This weekend, the 2022 NYPD FDNY Gaelic football match on September 17th. And then we have receive, accept, and file, and the audit. Okay.
Move to open public comment.
Move to open the public comment made by Mr. Divany. A second?
I'll second.
Okay, second. Okay. Signed up for the public comment, we have Susan Trust. I'll just remind you, we have 3 minutes. There's a clock there in case you need to monitor your time.
Thank you. Supervisor Kenny, board members, my name is Susan Truss, and I am here tonight with my husband Bill to request approval of a proposed senior property tax reduction. We have lived in our South Nyack home for over 40 years. We've raised our family here, and we're now retired living on a fixed income. We qualify for Enhanced Star. The ever-increasing property taxes are making it difficult to remain in our home near friends and family. We've come tonight to request that the town of Orangetown approve the proposed senior tax break mentioned in the article in the September 4th Journal News. The proposal would increase the income cap from the current $30,000 for a 50% reduction to $50,000 and up to $58,400 on a sliding scale. We understand that all three taxing authorities, the Rockland County Legislature, the Town of Orangetown, and the Nyack School District, need to approve it. We've contacted all three entities to make them aware and request that the senior tax break be approved. It troubles me that since this is not a state-funded benefit, the taxes saved by eligible seniors will need to be made up by other taxpayers within the town of Orangetown. However, we trust that you will assess this proposal and determine whether to approve it based on how many seniors age 65 and over or disabled seniors would be eligible and how much other working taxpayers would need to bear. Thank you for considering our request. We trust that you as a board will do what is best for our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that has not signed up for the public portion? That's okay. She can share with all of us.
I think she's the only other person.
Yeah, I know. Well, I gotta ask, you know. Motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm impressed how you're on your A game with this. This just barely came out, and I guess the Journal News article kind of picked up on it. So this would be for next year. Brian Kenny, I don't know if he sent, our assessor did send, well, I guess I sent him an email and he responded, so it would be for next year. But again, all taxing people have to agree, and very correct, we need to kind of see what the implications for everybody else is. But basically, it's an existing program, but they would just increase the income amount for eligibility for the 50%. So we'll get more details on that, but okay. Let Jerry run. We gotta wait for him because number 7 is.
Yeah, skip 7 and 8.
Okay, we can skip. We'll come back when Jerry gets back. Okay, so we'll jump to number 8, approve the Fifth Amendment to the PSC site agreement with AT&T for replacement of an antenna for an extra $300 a month. Get a motion? Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, we'll do real quick. Donate to the Pearl River Chamber of Commerce the welcome sign, the $57.70 be paid to the out of the Pearl River Parking District for the Pearl River's 150th anniversary. Motion? Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're going to go back to number 7. 6? Oh, wait, did I skip one?
Yeah.
Oh, I skipped one. Okay, that's the easy one. Okay, number 6. Basically, it's the issuance of the negative declaration with respect to the adoption of a local law relating to a zoning text amendment, changing the zoning district classification from R40 to R15, and then to the PAC for property located at the Hamlet of Pearl River on the east side of Highland Avenue and shown on the tax map as 68.07-2.1. Anything we need to say, Town Attorney, Mr. Attorney? Okay, motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 7.
7's on roll call, Rob?
Yeah. Is there a consensus for this 72,000?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so. Okay. So, number 7, can I get a motion again? This is for the resolution of the town board to change the zoning district classification from R40 to R15 and R15 to PAC for the property located in the Hamlet Road, and again at 68.07-2.1. Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Okay, on a roll call?
Councilman Jerry Vitari.
Yes.
Councilman Tom Devaney.
Yes.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Yes.
Councilman Paul Valentine.
Yes.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Yes.
All right. That's done.
Okay, so then we're up to 10. Okay, can I get a motion to authorize a request for proposals for a parking study for the Hamlet of South Nyack? Motion? Moved? Did you say moved? Okay, I think Jerry said yes. Second?
Yeah.
Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, authorize the mutual cancellation of the contract of the sale for the Durso trucking services at 65 Brookside Avenue in South Nyack.
Motion.
You're trying to swallow that? Second.
Was that, did you move it? Is that what that was? It sounded like you were eating the microphone there for a minute. Tom seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So establish a fee for the parking spaces at Brookside Avenue parking lot for South Nyack at an amount of $300 per year to be administered by our lucky town clerk. Can I get a motion?
Moved.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What if we sell the property?
Yeah, Brian asked. I mean, at this point, if it's, it
Just
goes,
put in it that it.
yeah, it would be
Prorated.
retroactive.
It'd be
It goes
prorated
from October 1 to September 30th. So if you want to do just 6 months, you can do that instead. But
Leave it for a year, and if we sell the property.
yeah, we would
Oh, just
reimburse.
prorate it back or whatever,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that was the intention, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I second.
Okay. Okay. Tom moved it. Paul seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Number 13, accept the draft comprehensive plan and set the date for the public hearing for October 25th, 2022. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
So Brian Downey moved. Tom Divany second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 14, approve, authorize town attorney to sign a settlement for a tax certiorari proceeding of Aran Banshi.
Yep.
Okay, Paul,
Pearl
You know.
River, Mike. I know you always like to know.
and presumably the school district agreed. No one yet. Motion? Jerry Batari, second.
I'll second.
Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 15, approval of a 2022 certificate of sewer registration to Pro Cut Landscaping. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, approve the First Amendment to the School Resource Officer Agreement with Nyack School District.
Moved.
Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
Brian Donahue, all in favor?
Aye.
Accept a donation of personal protective equipment from Amazon. Motion? Jerry Batari, second.
Second, since they're at my house every day.
Yeah. Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, authorize or approve the purchase of 4 vehicles for OSPE and the Department of Fire. Motion? Jerry, second.
I'll second.
Brian Donahue, all in favor? Accept with regret the resignation of Anthony Bevilacqua, effective September 9th, 2022.
Moved.
Tom Divany, second. Jerry Batari, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, a motion to combine agenda items 21 to 26. Motion?
I'll
And
second.
approve? So combine and approve. Tom Divany, move. Brian Donahue, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that.
All right.
Okay, number 27, can I motion to accept? Okay, Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 4 warrants for $2.5 million. First warrant had 44 vouchers for $941,000. Items of interest, number 2, the CSEA Employee Benefit Fund, $34,000 for dental benefits. And number 5, Department of Civil Service, $827,000 for health care benefits. The second warrant had 18 vouchers for $399,000. Number 6, Bauer Crowley, $162,000 for public officials and cybersecurity insurance renewals. Number 7, Schultz Ford, $182,000 for 5 police vehicles. The third warrant had 1 voucher for $270,000 and was for Vanis Construction for the new town hall project. The fourth warrant had 162 vouchers for $951,000. Number 8 and 9, the applied golf contracts. Number 11, Kelgi Construction, $111,000 for the new town hall project. Number 12, Charles Capasso, $80,000 for recycling. Number 16, Fanshaw, $127,000 for town hall electrical. Number 25, South Orangetown Central School District, $48,000 for the pool rental. And number 26, Sport Tech Construction, $90,000 for the Vets Park pickleball court renovation. Any questions on the audit?
What are we going to do with the hour of swim team time that we don't need anymore?
That's a question
That's
for
an
Eric.
Eric question, I think.
What are we going to do?
I'm gonna.
You know, I have no problem adding programming. I have no problem adding programming.
Is that all you wanted to know, or do you?
Or can we just get on the horn and say we don't need that hour? Let's reflect that.
Something we can try to reach out to the school district if we wanted to give that hour up. That's.
Well, I
We
mean,
were going to try to program within it for this fall cycle, try to use it. We can always check back.
What's the time?
It's 5 to 6 is what
5
Sharks
to
was
6?
using. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody in town hall, gonna get our workouts.
AM or PM?
5 in the morning, 5 in the
We'll do department by department.
do an executive session there next week.
Okay, motion on the, okay, Tom Divany, second. Jerry Patel in favor? Aye. Okay, we are going to go into a quick executive session, discuss proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property when it might affect the value. We are not going to be coming out and voting on anything. We do have a couple of adjournments, too many as far as I'm concerned, but anyway. We have Dorothy and Dottie Dean, that's a resident Pearl River and wife of James Dean, our superintendent of highways. Guy DiVincenzo, formerly of Tapan and formerly the deputy commissioner of our Department of Environmental Management and Engineering. Marion Galvin, a longtime resident of Pearl River. Edgar Perez, an assistant swim coach at the Tappan Zee High School. Jerry Walsh, resident of Pearl River and former town councilman. And James Ward, resident of Pearl River and son-in-law of James Dean, our superintendent of highways. So it's been a tough week here in the town of Orangetown. So can I get a motion? Second? Jerry, all in favor? Aye. Okay.